All right. So let me start by saying I am from the tropics. So you know I'm cold right now. So, with that said, let me tell you something else about Ingrid Kennedy. I do move all over the place. So those of you who know me know that I walk around. The reason I'm sharing that with you is because we're going to have to get comfortable with the environment together. Does that make sense? So you might hear my voice, but you're not going to see me because I'm going to go back. You might see me, and I'm going to be saying, let's look this way. I want to make sure that you see how this is going to work because it is a challenging environment today. You know, we have a presentation, and we have a really interesting setup. When I was asked about today's session, I was incredibly excited. And then Judy said, oh, we're going to be, the Friday Cafe is going national. So I said, ooh, am I doing the one in California? So that's good. We're staying local. It's wonderful. So I'm actually going to be moving a little bit more. Oh, it's cool in here. So let me start all over again. I need you to follow me. Equity. My name is Ingrid Kennedy. Buenos días. Es un placer tan grande para mí estar aquí en este día. Cuando me preguntaron que hiciera esta sesión hoy, fue un placer, especialmente cuando me dijeron que era la primera sesión que iban a hacer acerca de equity. ¿Cuántos entienden lo que estoy diciendo? Por favor, aplaudan. Muchas gracias. What just happened? What just happened?
It wasn't equal.
Say that again?
It wasn't equal.
It wasn't equal. But it was equitable, wasn't it? It wasn't equal, but it was equitable. There was access. I was able to switch. So, today, as a foundation for what you're going to be engaged in for the year, is the concept of equity. Equity in the intersection with family engagement. So we're going to lay the foundation together. We're going to do it together. We're going to be talking about some of the things, and they gave me an hour. So I'm going to ask Judy to cue me in the back because something happens when they give me a microphone and they tell me to talk about equity. We can be here a couple of days. So we're going to start with an hour. So in order to establish the foundation about equity and the connection with family engagement, I need you to know about who I am. I identify myself as a Black Latina woman. And I'm going to tell you where that comes from. When I was born in Costa Rica. Limon. Has anybody been in Costa Rica? Yes. Oh, wonderful. Beautiful country. I love it. It's I love it. When I was born in Costa Rica, I was born in the Atlantic coast, right here. Limon. Puerto Limon. And in Costa Rica, I was black. I was identified as black. Racially, I was black. When I came to the United States, I became Latina. That little thing that they call check the box. I needed to identify myself. And the reason that I was identified Latina because I was coming from a country from Central America, and I spoke Spanish. So the confusion began. And there were organizations that needed to understand why I was a bit confused. Because I was always black. So then, well, I'll say, I'll fix that. I am black and Latina. So I feel good there because I'm able to identify who I am. But others needed to figure that out, or why I was associating with my identity with a particular group. There might be some confusion when I say I'm black. I say, no, you're not. I say, yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. And when I go into groups and I say, I am Latina, really? Yes, I am. And I say, I can show you. I can do some salsa. I can do merengue. I am a dance instructor. I have to tell you that, too. Because we might have to start doing some dancing right about a few minutes to warm up. So, this is who I am. I've been in the United States for over 27 years. When I came to the country, I did not speak English, did not read it, write it. I came as an immigrant. Doors of opportunity open. And I love who I am. I love that I can switch and confuse you every once in a while. That is who I am. That's who I brought to my children's school when there were concerns about my children. That's who I brought into the classroom and to talk to the social worker. That's who I brought in, who I was. So this time together, the next 45 minutes that we will have together, it's about, let's lay the foundation to understand why that we first need to think about, need to talk about equity. And in many cases, what happens is when we say equity, we immediately go to race. I see heads nodding. And in many cases, when we go to race, we go to a specific race. So we have to ask ourselves, why is that? Why is it that we are so inclined, in some cases, institutionalized within our mind to think that way? When equity is about a lot of things. Equity is about language. Equity is about access. Equity is about opportunity. Equity is about how we lay foundations and paths so everybody has what they need in order to be able to function. So why as a society is it that we always go to that thing called race? Because it's everywhere. Judy mentioned something today about what is currently our current reality, what's happening in society. So I actually want to take you to a little journey of why did we go to race when we talk about equity. It is the concept of institutionalized racism. And in order to talk about equity in family engagement as our foundation, we have to go there first. So that we can all start today and for the time that you're going to continue to come together to lay that foundation. And in order to be able to do that, we have to be comfortable with this space. A culturally responsive environment allows for the opportunity to engage in conversations that sometimes might be a bit uncomfortable, but we need to have them in order to be able to talk about equity and then how equity intersects with family engagement. If we do not peel the layers, we're not going to be able to move away from what that equity thing is for us and how we define it. So, are you ready to go there with me?
Sure.
Are you ready to go there with me?
Yes.
Nice, I like that. En español, por favor. Sí. Are we ready? Sí. So let's do this together. So if I have, technology. So it's a couple of things. I have a couple of videos ready, and if they do not work, I will be dancing and singing. All right? So we're going to do this together. So, Sir has put forward a definition of equity. This is specifically about education. And he says, fair and equal treatment of all members of our society who are entitled to participate and enjoy the benefits of an education. All students and adults have the opportunity to participate fully and to experience success and human dignity while developing the skills, knowledge, and attitudes necessary to contribute meaningfully to society. So that's the definition that we have put together in our agency, SERC, the State Education Research Center. So now let's talk about social justice. My apologies that I'm reading, but I know there are some of your colleagues that are able to see the slides as well. Social justice is defined as promoting a just society by challenging injustice and valuing diversity. It exists when all people share a common humanity and therefore have a right to equitable treatment, support for their human rights, and a fair allocation of community resources. In conditions of social justice, people are not being discriminated against, now their welfare and well-being constrained or prejudiced on the basis of gender, sexuality, religion, political affiliation, age, race, disability, location, social class, socioeconomic circumstances, or other characteristics of background or group membership. That list right there, that's equity. That's equity. When we are making decisions about programs, services, curriculum, accounting for every single one of those items within that list. There's one thing in that list that is about race. So it's the dimensions of equity. So then we have equality versus equity. Equality is about the same. As you notice on the first slide, on the first picture, to your left, they all have the same size of the stool. But because of our height, if that's the same size, I might not be able to see it. I might not be able to see over that fence. Equity is thinking about what do I need to do in order to provide Ingrid with the access so she can see over the fence. So my chair might be a little taller, higher than the others. That's access, that's equity. In order to be able to achieve equity, equality, in order to be able to achieve equality, we have to think about equity first. It cannot be the other way around. It's when we have the frame of mind that what do I need to do to this environment in order to everybody, for every single person to have access. We have to have a legislation, ADA, for ramps to be created. when it would have been a lot more economic if the ramps were first and not the stairs. Picture that. Picture that. If every building, instead of stairs, have ramps, how much money would you have that saved? Equity. So that's the concept. So I always like to introduce this tool that we learned from one of our collaborators, Ben Singleton, and it's called a compass. The compass is about engaging in difficult conversations, courageous conversations. And the compass says that you're going to be entering a conversation from a particular quadrant. And I'm going to do this very quick because I want us to use it today as an example for our conversation. So what this does is every time that I'm going to be addressing an issue specifically about equity, when I'm addressing a component, an aspect about equity, especially in this case about racial equity, this is what he created, a compass for racial equity, says each one of us come into the conversation, to the topic on a particular area, on a particular quadrant. Meaning, if I come through the believing, I believe that equal treatment for all individuals is fair, that everybody should do it. That's my belief. In order to do that, I need to come to understand that access needs to happen. Then I can do it to my emotional quadrant. I have to tell you, when I began to do a lot of this work, I was always very emotional. For some of you that know me, I was always crying. And I might cry today. And I'm telling you because it's difficult to move from the emotional aspect of it. Because there is, Judy said it earlier, this is personal. I had 2 black sons and a black daughter. Reality right now, mommy is emotional because I'm worried about my sons and I'm worried about my baby. As much as you do, but I'm going to tell you why I worry every single day. When they call me, they might be sad. So emotional. Then is the relational part, or the acting. Some of you came to this session today and said, we're ready to do something. And you right now are saying, I'm ready to do something. Come on, lady, move on. Let's get to the doing thing right now. And that is okay. And I need to understand that. And then it comes from the thinking. Oh, no, she's saying all this, but I would like to see the data. Tell me how many times did your son's word stop, and how many that was done, but if that is okay. I need to respect that. Because the more questions you ask me, the more we get to understand where each one of us is coming from. So I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of videos. And the purpose of the quadrant is when I'm going to have you get to conversations at your table, then you're going to share what is going to be your entry point to the reaction to the images or videos that I'm going to share with you. Okay? So we will practice. So the first video that I'm going to share with you is the history of racism in the United States in 6 minutes or less. 6 minutes or less. So what I'm going to ask before I put the video is, if you cannot see the video, I'm going to ask you to stand and find a place that you can for a few minutes. It's literally in 6 minutes or less. So you have to watch it because I don't want you to miss it. Because this is our foundation and it's going to be our first nugget of conversation today. So let's find a place that you can watch it. And this is where I might have to dance. Let's hope not.
They must adapt.
Must they adapt, sir, to the point of their own extermination?
Extermination? I suppose you say we've exterminated your Indian heritage rather than provided to you the benefits of an entire civilization.
I want to hear you say your name. Your name is Toby. What's your name? Good.
Are you happy here, honey? Are you finding what you really want from somebody else? And what? What? Why does that answer you? I guess so. Then please, Mama, will you go? And never do this again. And if by accident you should ever pass on the street, please don't recognize me.
The civil rights movement in the United States mushroomed in the 1950s as African Americans in the South began to protest against laws that treated them unequally. In 1963, over 200,000 blacks marched on the nation's capital, demanding federal legislation to protect civil rights. Finally, in 1964, Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act into law.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday.
On August 15, 2005, Arwa and Sumaya Ibrahim were among the group of about 200 passengers of Arab, Muslim, or South Asian backgrounds plucked from the immigration area at New York's JFK Airport. They were detained for 6 hours, without food or water, and questioned about their views on the Iraq War.
Nuevamente externo, una enérgica protesta por las medidas unilaterales tomadas por el Congreso y el Gobierno de Estados Unidos que exacerban la persecución y el trato vejatorio en contra de los trabajadores mexicanos no documentados.
Prejudice. Want to talk about it? Like to hear it? Here it goes.
That's a nappy head of ours there, I'm gonna tell you that now.
Of history. 6 minutes of denying access, that it was built build the foundation of why we have to talk about equity. I am now, I can feel the room. And I know because of who you are individually, how you identify yourself, where you place yourself, you experience the video very different. Each one of you experiences very different because of who you are, because of who you support, who you serve, because of your own experience. So we're going to have the opportunity to talk about that at your tables for a few minutes. If you're not at a table, if you are in a group, I'm going to ask you to find at least 3 or 4 individuals to engage in the conversation. What you're going to be discussing is your reaction to the history, from who you are. This is not about anybody else, it's about you. Your reaction. Where are you coming from? What was your reaction? And that's okay, to share. How did you experience the video because of who you are? Okay? Let me give you that time now, and I will give you a few minutes and I need you to come back, okay? Thank you. If you do not know yourself, if you do not know the members of the table, let's start with introduction, please. is one of the most difficult parts of my role, to interrupt your conversation. So I'm just going to ask you to pause. You're going to have the opportunity to go back to your to the conversation in a few minutes. So I know that you probably have a few of the perspectives on the table and the conversation, and we want to get a few more as we continue our time together. So I wanted to share this following slide with you. I need you to look around. Look around the room right now. Look around as much as you can see around, and look at the diversity in the room. All aspects of diversity. The video that I just showed you, the history of racism in the United States in 6 minutes or less. I'd like to put in this quote in the middle of this right now because look around. No one in this room created what we just saw. Not one of us created that mess. Let me freely say, that mess. But the beauty is that everyone in this room can change. Everyone in this room has the power to heal that mess. Everyone in this room can take on the charge to say, what can I do to change it? That's the question. What are we doing to change it? Because it's the history. It exists. It is there. What do we do? So let me interject a personal, very personal experience in the conversation. And I can share with you what I'm doing to change it. I share with you that I have 3 children. They all went through the public school system. They're all grown up. My daughter's married. I have 2 boys. They're 2 young boys. 2 young men. They're 26 and 27. My daughter's 29. So I went through the school system with them. I went through the school system with them. We went to. I'm going to share an experience. Dr. King's birthday is a holiday for all of us, isn't it? Yes. My children were doing indoor track. They had practice on Dr. King's birthday. When they went to practice that day, the coach told them, "You didn't have to come today. It is your holiday." Wow. What else did I heard? The coach sent them home to celebrate their birthday. To celebrate Dr. King's birthday. Their birthday too, because they were about to be reborn together. So when they came home, I was home, because it was our holiday. Our holiday. And I said, "Aren't you going home? Don't you have practice?" And they said, "Mom, they didn't want to tell me." They did not want to tell me. They're so smart. I said, "What happened?" I said, "Mom, what are you going to do?" I said, "Tell me what happened." And they told me what happened. They were upset. Mom has been doing these passion thing about this thing called equity for many years, so they know Mom reacts a little different about things. So I said, okay. I said, are you going to go to the school? You know I'm going to go. You know we're going. Said, we're going to do it today? Yeah, he's there today. We're going to do it today. So we went back to the school. And everybody else was in practice. And my children were in home. So I had, after practice, I went a conversation with the coach. I'm going to tell you how the conversation, how the reaction went in my mind, and then I'm going to tell you how it actually went. So when I got there, I wanted to run and do a few things to him, but I couldn't, because I need to change it. Because if I reacted the other way, the police would have been called. I would have been called the angry black woman, aggressive, all that. And I was a very angry parent. I was. But I couldn't do that, express my true feeling right there, because I need to change it. I had an obligation, not only for my children, but for every single one of the students that was in that class, because the message was heard by everyone. So I said to the coach, can we talk? Can we talk? And we did. I used my compass. I used my compass. I used my social justice compass. And I said, I'm going to tell you what I have done my children. The Dr. King's dream was not just for them. It was for every single person in the world. It was for society. You see the tears? Because I still feel it. Because that was the dream. That was the mountaintop. Now we talk all the time. The coach and I talk all the time. I'm in speed dial and he's in speed. I mean, vice versa. We have each other's numbers because we talk. He said, Ingrid, I just say something crazy again. What did you say? What did you say? But you know the beautiful thing about it? That he feels it. It's the elevation of consciousness, the elevation of racial consciousness, the elevation of cultural consciousness, to understand that the first time that you interacted with a family of color, this mother was coming to tell you how hurtful that was. But at the same time, I'm extending the opportunity to engage in dialogue. I am still upset at you, but we're going to change it together. Each one of us has the power to change it, to change that mess. What are you doing? What am I doing? What are we doing? A culturally responsive, equitable environment is created by each one of us. In the moment that you walk into this room today, you change the environment just by being you. The environment shifted. In this moment right now, I am in command of this environment because I'm holding the microphone and Judy introduced me as a guest speaker and I am telling you what to do. And it is completely up to me that you feel comfortable. That how I present the information is in a way that is difficult it might be, that you understand that it's necessary to hear, understand, We need to lay the foundation. We need to hear each other's perspective. We need to hear that sometimes when we might say a statement as, I don't see color, or you are too loud, or how that person is receiving, how that group is receiving the message, it might be like, ouch. But I need to tell you about it. There is a concept called critical interrogation. Critical interrogation says we must create space to question what's in front of us with a critical eye. Today I'm asking you to critically interrogate with your equity eye. Whichever equity concept you have in your head, critically interrogate. I'm going to tell you, your parents, your constituents, your students, they critically interrogate everything that you do. And they come at it with their passion and who they are. There is a book called Multiplication is for White People. I have actually the resources. I have all the list of books that I have read that I recommend them for you to begin to browse through. This book, the title alone tells you a lot. But there is an aspect of the book that where that concept is coming from. In the classroom, my teacher is teaching to fourth graders, and she's teaching math. And one of the children says, "That's racist, what you just said or did." What did the teacher do? What do you think the teacher did? When the student, a fourth grader, told the teacher she was racist. No, actually, he said, "That's racist."
Put him out of the room.
Put him out of the room, kick him out. I heard something in the back. Denial. Yes, the teacher put him out of the room, very upset. What a missed opportunity to try to find out what was racist about what just happened. So now the teacher began to fester that negative feeling about the student because he called me racist. The student said, "I don't want to go back into the classroom. I know what to say when I'm going to get out." There was no teaching, there was no learning, there was no interaction. We need to be critical and allow critical comments and interrogation to come to the place and engage in that conversation. Because if we do not do that, we leave angry, we leave hurt, and we are not going to be able to fix it. We're not going to be able to change it. And humanity is just too great to allow ourselves to continue in this crazy spiral called structural racism. Because the scale here is very edgy. We can see it every day. I heard a bell. Almost done. I tell you, I can do this for a long time. Oh. Yep. So, I know I'm getting to the end of what I wanted to share with you today. There is something that is currently happening that we cannot see. It's in the media. It has impacted every single one of us. Is the pledge of the Black Lives Matter movement, the aspect about women, talking about equity, everything that has happened. Our children How many of you work with children? Raise your hand if you work with children. That's great. How many of you work with families? What is currently happening in the media is impacting our children and our families in a way that conversations are happening at the dinner tables about everything. And I am not saying just for families of color. This is happening everywhere. Every single family is engaging in these conversations. In our social groups, social interactions, we're talking about this. Right now I'm going to share with you a video that when I watched it moved me to the core, because it's about the current reality from a perspective of a young black child. They have the courage to go to a city council meeting and express how she feels about what is happening to her and to her community. I need to warn you, it is hard to watch. It is hard to watch. I need to put the caveat there, because if it is so uncomfortable for you, it is okay for you not to watch it. But it's difficult to watch. The reason I selected this video is because this is 21st century. This is today. It is not 400 years ago. This is a child that can be in your school. This could be a parent that is trying to support this child in your school. But this young woman had the courage to speak about it. That is the associational trauma that comes with not being able to engage in how do we fix it. There is a huge association, so we need to be conscious about this. Because when we talk about equity, access, opportunities, there is an association of the hurt that comes with where our families and where our society is coming from. Because the impact is for all of us. Is for all of us. So I need to bring you there. I know you're going to be uncomfortable because I'm uncomfortable. But we need to see the reality. Because it's the reality that is going to be the one that says, how do I change it? What do I need to do? How do we collectively begin to shift this? And as you continue to come together to these meetings about family engagement and intersection of family and learning, we need to be conscious of some of the traumatic experiences, the current reality of structural racism is happening in our families, our children, in ourselves. Because we need to come together to be able to address it. And have these forums to be able to engage collectively in conversations and support each other. This is the network. Who do you have in that phone of yours that you can call and say, I just watched this video and it's awful. Can we talk about this? Who is your cycle? Who is your circle? How are you cycling this conversation? That's what is going to make the difference. It can be a colleague, but you need to create those connections to be able to engage in these deep level of courageous discourse and to be able to change it. 2 minutes of this video. So we're going to watch it together. If you are uncomfortable, if you have seen it and it's too much for you, I am in the environment. I am comfortable with you not watching it or what you need to do. But I need you to take care of yourself. Okay?
I come here today to talk about how I feel, and I feel like that we are treated differently than other people, and I don't like how we're treated, and just because of our color doesn't mean
and I'm mad. The courage. The courage. She wants to change it. She wants to change. When I watch the protests, I not only see persons of color in the pictures. We all know it's wrong. We all know it's wrong. We all know it's wrong, and that we need to change it. That's what I ask you to look around in the room and look at the diversity in the room. The title of this session was about equity in the intersect of learning, exploring equity, and family engagement. And you said, well, you do not talk about that yet. Yes, we have. In order to be able to engage in this conversation, we need to do this because these are our children, our future. They are saying the courageous step that this young child took after the first council meeting in Charlotte after the shooting. She spoke. She spoke. So I just do not see persons of color saying, our lives matter. We need to change it. We need to stop racism. We need to support each other. There is a beautiful thing about who we are as individuals. It's about humanity, that we care about each other. Did any of you remember this? Rio, the Olympics? What a wonderful, I have the video that I would like to show you, but what a wonderful thing that happened in this competitive event. The U.S. tripped New Zealand. They fell, but they helped each other through the end. It was not about winning, it was about supporting one another. That's the beautiful thing about our humanity, of who we are as individuals. That's the beautiful thing about thinking about equity from the very beginning. Let's build the ramps and not the steps. Let's make sure everybody has that access. Let's make sure that when my families come in to me, I'm thinking about what can I do to the environment? What do I know about them? That I can put flowers on the table. I'm telling you, if I come to your meeting and you have salsa music playing, we're dancing. Because that's how you know who I am. Because we engage in that conversation. So the question is, what do you do? What do we do? Because no one alive today created this mess. But everyone alive today have the power to work on doing it. We hold the power. We hold the power. I know my time is up, and I want to keep going. But I know I keep. You probably going to do something after? Am I done? I'm just looking at my... Oh, beautiful. Yes. So I guess I have given a few more minutes. Before I go to the Q&A, I want to personally thank you for giving me the opportunity to be myself. For giving me the opportunity to be myself. Thank you, because I know that what I share with you today, it might have caused dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is a good thing. It's a thing that it creates that about things that I know and some new things that I have been presented that I need to really wrestle with for a little while and then say, call somebody and ask them a question that is really right there in your heart. Call somebody and tell them I was just exposed, presented with this information. talked to each other today and said, where do we go from here? Because we need to change. So I wanted to thank you for giving me the opportunity today. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now let's talk. Where are you in the compass? What questions you may have? Reactions? Touch. Yes, you can.
Coming here was quite challenging. Mary Ann and I talked about how parents, when they come to a new building and we had to find our way, and I'm terrible finding my way. But anyway, it has really been worthwhile to me. A lot of the history I could identify with. There were wounds, feelings, and proud of the relationship that I have with me. I have evolved. I'm not as angry as I used to be. I don't blame. I try to understand. And I do believe I'm fair with me, and I'm fair with others. And I'm going to even get better.
Others?
I want to thank you, as you thanked us, for sharing. And being here today, I wanted to strengthen the tools in my toolbox, and I wanted to because I've entered into the Courageous Conversation with my staff, and we have a Courageous Conversation once a month about race. My staff is starting to feel comfortable because my school is 85% African American, 10% Hispanic, and 5% other. And my staff is the absolute opposite. And we are becoming more and more comfortable, and you've given me some of the things that I'm going to put in my toolbox. I will give you credit to continue the conversation. One of the things that I wanted to share with everybody in here, and that is that in order to, even though we weren't the creators of this mess, in order to fix this mess, you're going to have to accept a level of discomfort with what you're doing and still be able to speak your own truth. Because the only thing that will eradicate racism is exposing light to those dark places. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's going to be a little bit hard for me. I just want to say thank you to you as well, because I was very tired today, and you lifted me up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you. Paris Lee from New Haven, Connecticut. I was facilitated a meeting in one of my schools yesterday. Two parents showed up for a meeting, and two is better than none. One of the parents told me, because like Lincoln Bassett, this particular school might be 75% black students and maybe 25% other, let's say. This was a grandparent who attended this meeting, and she commented on the staff not being friendly. She didn't think the school was welcoming. Although the principal and the teachers and everyone go about their daily routine, this grandparent was like, they're not welcoming. I walk in and they're holding cups of coffee, standing around, no one saying good morning, this, that, and the other. And I was taking notes. So I got share this with someone because this is something that needs to change. Parents should feel comfortable. Grandparents should feel comfortable coming into a school because it's all about the children. It's supposed to be all about the children, and yet, still today, you have minority parents, grandparents coming into an environment where, again, 90% of the staff is white, and they don't feel like there's a connection. You know, there's no comfortability there. And I have to carry this message to some forum to make change. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you for this conversation today. It is very prevalent. Kids are talking about it. Kids are talking about it within their own groups. They're kind of talking about it as cross groups. Parents are talking within their home, but not always talking to each other or to other groups. I have students talking to me that are very concerned about this issue. I have experience of my own child having problems with a disability. There are different supports that aren't happening, but conversations that do need to happen. And so I'm wondering, can you give us examples of what we can do as parents, as school staff, as districts, to be able to have these conversations and start to make it so that we feel uncomfortable being here.
Great, thank you. One of the first things that we need to do is to be able to, you need to set up the environment. And it needs to be structured. You need to, if you notice some of the things that I was doing today, I was actually, even before I showed the video of the young lady, I needed to let you know how hard it's going to be. We need to be able to know what the needs of the parents are, what are the conversations that the children are having, what are the conversations that need to take place. And the agenda for those conversations need to be set up correctly. One of the worst things that we can do when we're trying to really advance equity is to set up a structured agenda that we decide, thinking that's the best agenda. It's about making the phone calls, engaging in conversations, and say, will this be a valuable conversation to have? And what should we be talking about? And set it together, and set a structure. You know how I give you the compass? Set a structure for yourself so that you understand where individuals are coming from. I'm going to give you another tip. Many times when you want to structure this level of conversation, sometimes you set up conversation norms. You probably have them in your classroom. You know, things to do and not to do when you're engaging in conversation. But when you invite families or groups or students, you put the template in there with what you think are those conversation norms. You set them up. The best way to do it is spend 5-10 minutes with the group for them to set their own conversation norms. For your students in your class to say, what should be the norms of behavior in our classroom? Let's take note. We're going to define only 5 because you're going to get 20 of them. And then get into a consensus as a group, and everybody needs to agree that that's how we're going to hold each other accountable on the norms that we set up together. That's a culturally responsive approach to do it. Because in the moment that one of us violates one of those norms, we're going to hold each other accountable because we agree. The agreement comes, the consensus comes from the beginning. Those are so, in order to be able, and then you need to call it what it is. We never want to bring somebody into a conversation and hit them with them really hard, and they didn't know that's what they were coming for. I hope I didn't do that today. But you need to make sure that you know what environment you are prepared to come to share yourself. And your families need to know that, your students need to know that. I remember when I was in the classroom, that's what I would do with my students. Let's talk about this, and let's discuss. Now it's called restorative practices. What happened? How do we get to that point together at the beginning so that we're proactive and not reactive? I hope that helps.
So, just one question. The conversation is really important. The conversation norms are really important, setting up the room and preparing the space. But how do you prepare folks for the conversation? How do you prepare people to understand who will be out to? How do you prepare them to navigate through all that discomfort and still remain in the conversation?
So one of the things is about establishing that engagement in the conversation and saying how far we're going to go together. First, establishing this is where there's going to be some situations that it might be difficult today. As I said today to the group, you need to establish that with the group. There are going to be some aspects of what we're going to engage in that is going to make every single one of us uncomfortable. And that's because of where we're coming from, personally. And then agree of how are we going to end today. We are not going to fix it today. We're not going to fix racism today. But I'm hoping that the seed was planted about what are you doing? What is your anti-racist action that is going to help change it? That needs to be established with the group as well. It's almost that your goals and objectives of the meeting and the outcome. At the end of today's session, we want to make sure that we do this, this, and this, and you establish it together. That's the way to establish that. You have to set the environment, and as I mentioned, it has to be structured. You have to have a structure to be able to say, this is exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to do it together, and we're going to hold each other accountable to that. I have 1 minute, so one more question? Or one more point?
It's just a comment. I just want to thank you. You remind me of my Kiki Carmen, my mom's best friend. She's a Latinx woman, and we have that spunk in you. And I just want to say thank you. And this conversation is so important because when I was coming in here, it was like a build-up, and you kept on talking about equity, and I was like, say it, just say the word, institutional racism. You know, because it's so hard for people to just say it. And I'm so excited for the work that Friday Cafe is doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I need to pass the mic to Julie, and thank you to all of you.